It started with a whisper, not the kind you hear with your ears, but the kind that brushes the edge of your soul, a soft electric current, a feeling that something immense is about to happen. Even though everything looks perfectly ordinary, Ilara had never really thought about soulmates. She was too busy with life, working her 9 to 5 at the old bookstore downtown, tending to her plants at night, feeding her grumpy orange cat named Marzipan. Love was something she had neatly tucked into a box labeled later. She would smile when her friends talked about their whirlwind romances, secretly thinking, maybe that's just not for me. But that whisper, it wouldn't leave her alone. It came to her first on a Tuesday evening as she closed the bookstore. The rain was falling, soft and misty, making the streetlights halo in the mist. She turned the key in the lock, and for just a moment, she felt it, a presence behind her. No sound, no shadow, just a pull at her heart. Ilara, she turned sharply. No one. The night swallowed the sound, and Marzipan was waiting at home, yowling for dinner. She shook it off, thinking she was just tired. Stress made people imagine things, didn't it? But that night, when she finally climbed into bed, pulling the quilt up to her chin, she dreamed vividly, a dream that felt more like a message. In the dream, a figure of pure white light stood before her. Wings spanned across the stars themselves, and a voice neither male nor female spoke directly into her bones. Your soulmate will come suddenly. Prepare yourself. It will make your head spin. When she awoke, the words were still there, imprinted in her mind like a branding. They threw in her chest, as alive as her own heartbeat. The days after the world felt sharper after that dream. Colors popped. She noticed the tiny veins on the petals of her morning glories. She caught strangers' eyes on the street more often, like invisible threads tugging her attention toward them. Even music on the radio seemed to hum with secret. Meaning, was she losing her mind? Or was she waking up to something greater? The angel's message lived in her now, tucked between every breath. She tried to push it away, to live as she always had, but it was impossible. It was like knowing a comet was about to streak across the sky. You can't just forget something like that. Ilara's friends noticed. You're glowing, her best friend. Mira said one evening at their usual cafe. Did something happen? Ilara only smiled and stirred her tea. Not yet, inside, though. Her heart was beating a new rhythm. The night everything changed happened on a night she had almost stayed home. Myra had begged her to come out a gallery opening downtown, full of loud colors and louder people. Normally, Ilara would have declined, but that whisper, that stirring, it urged her forward. Go, it seemed to say. Tonight, the gallery was a converted old warehouse, its brick walls bursting with modern art and laughter. The hum of conversation buzzed around her. She wandered between paintings, glass of wine in hand, feeling oddly detached, like she was walking through a dream. And then she turned a corner and collided into someone. The impact jolted the glass. From her hand, wine splattered her jacket. She stumbled backward, but a hand caught her. I'm so sorry. A voice warm and rich, laced with genuine concern. She looked up, and it was like the world snapped into focus for the first time. He had dark hair, slightly messy, like he'd run his hands through it a dozen times. His eyes, oh God, his eyes, were the color of storms, silver threaded with blue. In the span of a heartbeat, she saw everything: laughter, heartbreak, kindness, fire, home. Something inside her chest cracked open wide. The air between them shifted, electric, charged. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't move. Her head literally spun. It wasn't just attraction. It wasn't just that he was beautiful. It was a soul-deep recognition, a remembering. "Are you okay?" he asked again, hands still steadying her. Yeah. Alara stammered, cheeks flaming. They stood there, locked in the kind of stare that poets write about the rest of the world melting away. Somewhere, very distantly, she heard music, laughter, footsteps. But it was all background noise now. He smiled then, and the heavens cracked open. "I'm Alex," he said, offering his hand. "Alara," she replied, taking it and feeling the jolt. The realness, the rightness flood her veins. It was him, the one the angel had promised. Whirlwind from that night on, everything moved like a river in spring thaw fast, wild, unstoppable. They talked for hours that first night, sitting on the cold gallery floor among spilled wine and abstract paintings. Stories poured out of them like they had been waiting lifetimes to speak. They laughed until they cried. They leaned closer without meaning to. Drawn by a force beyond understanding, they found they shared strange coincidences, favorite obscure songs, dreams of far-off places, odd little habits that matched like puzzle pieces. But it was more than that. It was how the silences felt between them, full, not empty. It was how being near him made Alara feel more herself than she ever had alone. The world outside continued to exist, of course. Bills needed paying. Work needed showing up too. But it all blurred into background noise now. There was only the new gravity between them, pulling them into an orbit no one else could enter. And the angel's voice rang inside her still. "It will make your head spin." How could it not? Love had come crashing into her life like a tidal wave, washing away the familiar shoreline of everything she thought she knew. Signs and wonders, the more time they spent together, the more strange synchronicities unfolded. Songs on the radio that mirrored their conversations, seeing the same numbers 11, 11 to 22 flashing everywhere they went. Dreams they had of each other before they met, fitting together like two halves of a prophecy. One night, lying tangled together, under the stars in a nearby park, Alara whispered, "Do you believe in fate?" Alex brushed her hair back gently. "I didn't," he said, voice low. "Not until you." And when she looked at him, really looked, she swore she could almost see it. Faint, shimmering lines connecting them, golden and strong, like the invisible threads of destiny woven by angels. A sudden breeze stirred the trees above them, whispering secrets to the night. Alara closed her eyes and silently thanked the voice that had come to her, the angel who had told her to be ready. Lessons in Lovette wasn't always perfect. Soulmates aren't perfect. There were moments when old wounds reared their heads, when fears clawed at the edges. Moments when their very closeness threatened to undo them because deep love brings up all that is unhealed. But they chose each other, again and again. They fought fair, learned patience, apologized when necessary. They marveled at how much they still had to discover about themselves and each other. And through it all, Alara felt that electric, sacred hum, the one that had first whispered in the bookstore doorway. The one that had told her to trust. She had, and it had led her here, head spinning, heart wide open. Home, a final whisper. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the gallery night, Alex surprised her. They returned to the same warehouse, now emptied, a silent cathedral of brick and memories. In the center, under a canopy of fairy lights he had strung up himself, he knelt before her. No grand audience, no spectacle, just them and the stars bearing witness. Ilara, he said, voice thick with emotion, you made my world spin the moment I saw you. You made me believe in miracles. Will you marry me? Tears blurred her vision. She could hardly speak, but her heart screamed the answer. Yes, 1,000 times yes. And as he slipped the simple gold ring onto her finger, she heard it faint but unmistakable, the angel's voice once again. This was always meant for you. And in that moment, with the stars above and the love of her life before her, Ilara understood. Love, real love, comes when you least expect it. It knocks you off your feet, spins you around, cracks you open in the best way. It demands your surrender, but gives you everything in return. And sometimes, if you listen very closely, you'll hear an angel whispering to your soul. Get ready. It's coming.